Bonjour.
Hello, everybody.
We are super scared, excited,
Yeah, but a little bit of both, I guess. Yeah.
because today we are going to take you down into the catacombs. So stay with us for a really cool tour. We learn a lot of things about how the stones that have built Paris were extracted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll get to hear some thoughtful banter between Bertrand and I. Always enjoyable.
Yeah, very much. We were in a great spirit today. You will learn about the catacombs. You will learn about why we have all these bones in these quarries, and hopefully we will take you there in real life soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
So let's start this tour.
Let's go.
En avant. So we're getting into a dark alley. That's the catacombs.
Yes, or part of it at least.
You guys can see that. I'm not the tallest in the team.
Yeah.
There's just about this space. Lucien has a bigger problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But maybe that's because of your haircut today. So it's both very low ceiling and very narrow. I mean, just the two of us. We bugged the whole way.
And we're pretty slim. We're amongst the slimmest one of the
Yes, I wanted to congratulate you on that.
Thank you. It's my salad-only diet.
Yeah, or you have started to do tours again.
Yeah, that could be true too.
I can see there's a change.
Okay, so here we get to a first sign that says hauteur 19 mètres 15. So what it means is the difference between where we are right now and the surface of Paris. So 19 meters, 15 centimeters.
We're 60 feet underground.
Yeah, we're 60 feet underground in one of the upper galleries of the catacombs, because there are some deeper galleries that we'll see a little bit later. And actually from time to time, just listening, you can hear it right now. I don't know if you can hear on the camera, you can hear the metro going above our heads, which is about I would say about 33 feet above our heads right now.
And if you don't hear it, it's because they're on strike.
So you can see also this gate on the right over here, which is very useful because the museum is very small. It's only about a mile, maybe a bit less than a mile. But in total, all the different quarries of the catacombs, if you put them all in a straight line, would be about 180 miles long. So thankfully, so that we don't get lost in the museum, they shut off most access.
So you're saying that if we go this way, we find way more.
Oh, there's more
galleries.
and more to see. There's miles and miles to see. So
How much do we see on the tour?
I would say, well, so it's we see about a mile out of 180 miles. So yeah, there you go. About
1 out of 180?
0.5% of what you could actually see if you wanted to. Now, there's a different way to see all the rest of them, but it's not as official, so I won't mention it on this tour.
Exactly. That's where we can't talk about it, but you have Google for
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
for the rest. So we keep on walking in this mile-long gallery, and there are no bones.
No bones, but sometimes you have signs like those. I don't know if you can get it with your camera, Bertrand. It says 17G. Okay, so the G is important. The G is the name of the engineer who was responsible for putting a pillar behind that wall so that right now both of us don't die with the ceiling of this gallery crumbling on our heads.
So big thank you, Mr. G.
Mr. G, whose real name was Charles Axel Guillaumeau, the first engineer hired in the 1770s to reinforce the old limestone quarries, and 17 is the number of the pillar he put in a specific year. Now, usually you have your name right here, but because this one is so old, it was erased, but it means that the pillar was put here at least 230 years ago.
Wow, and still stand.
So far, yeah.
So you say so far, let's get out of here.
Okay. So here we have an interesting sign. It says Avenue de Montsouris, or Montsouris Avenue. Now you're gonna find those signs all around here. And the reason for that, as I told you before, it's 180 miles of galleries, which means you can get lost down here. So they mirror the streets of Paris, which means right now we are exactly 60 feet under Montsouris Avenue.
So we are 60 feet under the kids' park.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. And actually that's what a lot of people are disturbed by this. You go around on the tour in the Catacombs Museum, so we'll see this sign 2 more times before the exit.
Okay. Around the park. So there are dead people down there and kids playing above our head.
Yeah, well, it's the cycle of life, right?
I love that spirit. We find you again, Lucien.
Yeah, and
There's something you want to show.
Interesting. Those stones right here that we call in French en appareillage en harpe, in English, from an easier word, toothing stones, because as you can see, it looks like two set of teeth here and right here. Now the question is, what is this for? So we can do some guess. I'm going to put my hand through it, see what I can find.
Oh, what's coming up?
Not kidding. No. So through here, you can feel the air passing
It's
through.
true. So we can breathe.
Exactly.
And keep on walking in our gallery. I'm so worried that you hit your head against the ceiling.
No. I've done this enough. Don't worry.
Well, that will be more fun. I think we'll get more views if you did.
So here behind me, we're in a room that we call the workshop. It was recreated by the museum. So we can imagine how the people who came down here worked about 800 years ago. Because the major issue of extracting stone from the old limestone quarries is if you extract too much stone, this above my head will crush you to death.
Nice.
So the whole conundrum is, how can I get stone without dying? The first system, the one on my left right here, is called the system of the turn pillar. The idea is that you're going to take stone all around here and there until you can go all around this pillar, and you're going to leave this pillar in place.
So this is not built up.
No, exactly. It's left there in place so as to support what we call the sky or the ceiling of this quarry right here. So that was the first system around the 1200s. But the issue with this system is that you lose precious limestone. So 20 years later, we came up with a second system, which is over there.
Let's go see that. We don't want to lose precious limestone, do we? Because this limestone, we haven't said it before, but it was used to build Notre Dame, the Louvre.
Everything you see in Paris, if it looks old and beautiful, is from here, pretty much.
Oh,
So
nice.
here on my left, you have the second system, because the limestone was made more or less between 42 and 44 million years ago. And the limestone from 42 million years ago happens to be better than the limestone from 44 million years ago.
Yes, it's a much better year.
Watch out behind you, some people are going through. And so because of that, the idea here is that you would extract limestone, only the good one, and the one you don't need it, you would keep blocks and assemble them right here as a series. 1, 2, 3, 4, and
So these pillars, they are built up.
yeah, they're called literally in French des piliers à bras, which means man-made pillars made literally with the arm of the limestone workers, the quarrymen workers.
How can they stick the last one? There's mortar up there.
Yes, you have a little bit of mortar right here, and the idea is, of course, you stick them before you take out the stone behind it. Otherwise, of course, the whole thing will crumble. And then all the rest you don't need. See, all the rubble, you put it behind there, and you build those small walls right here. And the idea is that because the rubble is compact, it's going to both maintain the ceiling over here, again, the sky of the quarry, and maintain this wall right there.
They were very ingenious. I mean, when it's a question of life and death,
Yeah,
you make
more or less.
you
Yeah,
make
so
your
they have,
brains
and
work.
the other thing is, well, that's what I call survivor bias. We only see the ones which were successful, not the ones which failed.
You don't see guys with the mask, but he's having a good time, Lucien. He's having a good time when he talks about people dying there. Let's continue.
Yes.
So Lucien, right behind us
Yeah.
is a gate you have just opened
Well, yeah.
and closed.
Yeah, with a little help from the security, but yeah, more or less, yeah. So one of the perks of being here with tour guides, you get to go to private rooms. You can hear frustrated people behind us. We can't enter; it's just for us now. And so we're going to go to a deeper level of the old limestone quarries, which is a couple more feet underground. That's why I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's a little bit slippery. We have our nice shoes on, so we're trying not to fall as we walk.
Let's show that.
See, those shoes are nice, but they don't.
Which one?
Well, mine especially. They don't go well.
Because I came prepared.
Yeah.
But it's true. You guys probably can see that it's pretty humid. Also down here, it's full of little pebbles.
Yeah, and so because we're so deep on the ground, by the way, if you come here,
There
whether
it
it's
goes down.
summer or winter, you will always have the same temperature. It is always
12 degrees Celsius. Learn your Celsius degrees, guys.
No, it's 14 Celsius, which
14.
I was looking for it in Fahrenheit. I think it's 56 Fahrenheit. You can correct me at home. But I think
56 Fahrenheit. So it's good for, it's wine temperature. Wine
yeah,
keeping
in
temperature.
the summer it's perfect.
I see a very, very black line.
Yeah, so that's that black line was very useful before we had those right here. As you can see, I'm pointing towards an object of modern technology that we get through electricity, a lamp right there. And so before the lamp, we had, of course, torches. And as I told you before, people started visiting this museum very, very early on, even before the French Revolution. We know that the ladies of the court of Versailles came down here in 1785. So when you were visiting back then and you didn't have all the gates to close down all the access, you're sometimes afraid to get lost. And
Sure.
of course, you had your lightning through a torch. And the idea is with your torch, you could always look above your head. If you saw that black line, it meant that you were not lost. You just had to follow it towards the exit. If you couldn't see it anymore, though, that's where trouble began.
It's like a safety line.
Yeah, more or less, yeah, something like that.
And it's made of what? It's chalk.
That's a good
Or
question.
coal?
Yeah, I would say coal. That seems the more logical one. Yeah, that's what I would say. I'm not sure they put too much
That
thought
mean-
into it, but yeah.
That means if we wash it off and turn off the lights, we're in trouble.
I understand the question now. Well, hopefully we don't do that, right? Yeah.
Lucien, we are in a lower gallery,
Yeah.
and yet it seems like this is the museum.
Yeah, it looks like
What
it.
is that?
So, yeah, sometimes I joke and I say that's what I do in my spare time between tours, but I wouldn't make sure it's a little bit older than that. What you're looking at are some sculptures, and you can recognize the number of letters. Here you can see Port-Philippe. So Port-Philippe is the main town of an island in next to Spain that you might know, especially those of you who like to go to listen to European music in the summer. It's in Minorca. You ever heard of Minorca, Bertrand?
Yeah, in front of Mallorca.
Exactly, yeah, those islands. Well, so we're gonna go back to a different time, but back in the 1760s, there was a war between the French and the English.
Yeah,
The
another-
English had possession of the island for a while, then the French took it from them. So
Good
why-
for us.
Yeah, we lost it again later, but for a while we had it. And the reason is, the question is, why am I talking about all of this down in the catacombs? Because one of the earliest people working down here was a guy called Descures. In his spare time, decided to sculpt on the stone here his memories of being a soldier stationed on the island. As you can see.
So wait a second. You're saying that all of this is sculpted by one guy who is
Yeah.
actually working in the quarries?
Yeah, it took him 7 years to sculpt this, and as you can see, he went into many.
7 years?
Yeah, 7 years. He did that literally on his lunch break when he had time. And so, as you can see,
Oh, the guy was missing Minorca a lot.
Yeah, yeah, apparently, yeah. So you have two different places. You have Port-Philippe over here. So he did. So it's a very rocky island. So as you can see, the buildings are built directly into the rock. That's what he's trying to show here. You can also see it's a defensive town. You see the orientation of those walls right there. If you go around France and you visit all the old towns that were built in the 1700s, you will see those type of walls. It's in case you get shot at by cannonball. See, it deflects the cannonball if it hits right in the middle. So you have those angles on those walls.
Those
right
Vauban
there. Exactly, the
walls.
The Vauban walls.
I know my stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Above ground.
No, you're not just a good cameraman. No, I have to say that about you, Bertrand. Yeah. So, and over there, you have what's written Quartier de Caserne. So a caserne is a military barrack. So it's probably the place where he spent most of his time as a soldier. And as you can see, it's a pretty fancy barrack. You even have ionic columns and all of that.
I'll try to. No? Yeah.
So yeah, you can see them right here. And so Descures was very proud of this place. Oh, well that's, wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. The guy sculpted this for his lunch break. Oops.
Don't lose your phone because we're not allowed to go where you just left your phone. Therefore, I can't get it back if you lose it.
I know you do stuff that we're not supposed to do.
And so the last
All
thing,
the time.
he was so proud of this, he even decided to do a nice little entryway that you're standing on right now. Actually, you'll have to look back down at your feet. That's on the camera as well, if you can. You'll notice that you have black stones under your feet. That's volcanic stone that was designed by Descures to create a big entrance to his place.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
So what kind of a job do you do here in the 1700s?
His job, well, so we can go back, if we go back to the origins of this place, originally, the old limestone quarries, so as I said before, we start using them in the 1200s, we used them again in the 1400s, and eventually we stopped in the 1600s because it was too expensive to go all the way down here to get the limestone, and we prefer to go to different limestone quarries outside of Paris, but closer to the surface. So it's cheaper to go over there.
We ship them here, but
exactly.
not deep down.
And that's why you'll notice that a lot of the buildings built in the 1600s, like the Invalides, tend to be built by the river, which makes it easier to bring the limestone from the suburbs to Paris.
What a smart guide you are. What a privilege to be down there, just the two of us.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So we have what? So with a guided tour, a private tour, we can get to this level.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And we have as much time as we want, or down here, or no? There will be another group after us.
Yeah, there'll be, so it depends if you're a nice guide or not, but if you're a nice guy, you try to stick to your 10 or 15 minutes down here so that the next group can be there all alone as well. And right here you have the second part of his work. So still the same guy, Descure, whose name you have right here, pointing at it. And his nickname is a funny nickname given to him by his friends. His nickname was Beau Séjour, which literally means nice stay, because for those of you who've ever been to Minorca, it's a very nice island to be on, and so his friends thought that if you had to do your military service somewhere, Minorca was the way to go. So he was nicknamed Beau Séjour.
And he apparently loved the place.
Exactly, because
and reminded it so well, because it's time with no photos, so it's,
yeah.
Is it accurate? I've never been to the area.
Me neither.
One would guess, yeah, it's accurate. He had all the time in the world to carve it.
Well, yes and no, because so as you can see, this is his finished work right there. So as
can I just stop you for 1 second and say that this is your favorite answer? Yes and no. It's to say yes. It's not. Yes, that's about it. No, I know more than you do, so let me tell you.
Yeah. I'm trying to bring in more nuance. We missed that today. So they say here started in 1777 and finished in 1782. So it was finished. But then, so they say 1782, you can also read 1783, I don't know who's right. The important thing is that in 1783, he was trying to do the last thing, which was to create a new access to this quarry by a staircase. Unfortunately, because he did that on his own, and you guess what I'm about to say?
He never finished.
Because?
He's buried down here somewhere.
More or less, yeah.
It crashed on him?
Yeah, he crushed him, exactly, while he was trying to build this.
Poor
exactly.
guy.
Yeah.
After so much work, the actual thing that got him was the staircase.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Should have put just a rope.
Yeah, or a trampoline system, yeah, something like that. And because the fun never stops down in the catacombs, we have still more in this gallery over there.
Let's keep on the fun.
Yeah. Now, this is where, Bertrand, you do not want to drop your camera. You have to be able to show this down there without dropping it. I don't know if everybody can see it. I don't know if you guys can recognize it at home. It's water they have all the way down here. So this place is called the foot bath of the quarryman, which is a joke, because back in the day we were allowed to go down that staircase right here, which we cannot do anymore. And the big joke was, since the water is so clear down there, if it wasn't lit, you had no idea you were walking straight into water, so your feet would get wet, hence the foot bath of the quarryman.
Yes, it's not really a nice place for them to take a foot bath after a long day.
And you're gonna laugh, but yes and no, because
I am laughing. You're right.
Because when you access this water is what we call in French la nappe phréatique, which means it's the water that's been filtered through the ground, has been coming down here for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and it's one of the purest waters you can find down in Paris, all the way down there. That's how deep we are right now. We're actually all the way down there. So you can drink that water if you go to some artesian wells in the south of the city. You have 3, if I'm not mistaken. And otherwise, you can also try and jump from here, but no guarantee I'll go down there to pick you back up. Up to you.
Well, that would also make much more views for this video. We have more to show you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So we continue our
Yeah.
journey through the catacombs.
So now we're walking back up because we went down to come down here. We have to get out of here eventually. And
Eventually, yes, because I'm starving.
yeah, and on the walk back up, a little surprise. Those
What's
beautiful arches right here, which serve. So those were put down here by the engineers because you know in France the engineers they kind of have self-esteem issues. And because in France we always say of ourselves we're a creative country, so we venerate artists, not so much engineers. And so here they wanted to show people that just because you're an engineer doesn't mean you cannot have a poetic soul. So they decided to do this passage right here, those beautiful arches imitating Romanesque style architecture.
And that's just to get back at people who says engineers are not artists.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's...
if we keep going here, you'll see some more or less fractured trees like this right there.
Wait a second. What are you telling me?
So you see this crack on the ceiling?
Yeah, I heard you.
Yeah, and then you have those two pieces of paper and see they're nailed to it. And the idea is that every year they come to check to see if those two pieces of papers have gone further and further apart. And when they get too far apart, the paper actually rips. So this one is fine, but my favorite one is coming up over there.
And we hear drips also.
Yeah.
Water dripping.
Well, remember we showed you earlier the water reserve of Paris. The water keeps going down, so
It's true.
it's going on as we speak. And so my favorite.
Are you
one-
going to show us a crack in the rock where it actually ripped and so
This
it's going
one
to
right
collapse?
This one right there. See the one I'm standing right under right now.
Let me try to get closer. So this actually shows you guys that we should not stay here for too long.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we're taking all the risks for you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so now we're gonna exit. So you have to go first, Bertrand, because I have to shut the door behind you. Make sure
And that
nobody
means
else
we go back
enters.
to the regular area.
Exactly.
Stop. This is the Empire of the Dead. Well. Lucien, I've just passed a sign that says stop. This is the Empire of Death, or of the Dead. But we keep on walking.
Yes, it's so when they decided to renovate this place and make it an ossuary, meaning the place where we keep all the bones from between 5 to 6 million people who died in Paris throughout the centuries, they decided to make it a little bit spectacular. That included quotes when you enter. And so stop, this is the Empire of Death, for those of you who read medieval literature, is what Virgil and Dante read when they enter Inferno in Dante's book, The Divine Comedy.
Ooh. So we are getting into hell. Wow. Guys, I've been here before, but every time you pass this door and it is quite surprising. So this is no recreation. It's actual skulls.
Those are actual skulls that actually get stolen every year, and you will actually get arrested if they find some in your suitcase.
I'm not gonna steal somebody else's skull.
I say this because I've done a tour here before where the director of the catacombs was here, and he said to me that every week he gets one briefcase worth of bones people send back, feeling guilty after stolen them years ago. What I haven't told you so far is why do we have the bones to 5 to 6 million people down here in the old catacombs? It's all because of one cemetery which used to be called the Innocent Cemetery. That used to be the main cemetery of Paris, where people started getting buried there around the year 800. So for almost 1,000 years, people got buried in that cemetery. And so eventually, they ran out of space. So what they did was, they started burying people over other people. They stacked the bones through the walls. But even that created an issue eventually because you had houses built right next to the cemeteries, and there was so much pressure put by the bones on those walls that the caves of the surrounding houses started to fall down. And people who went down to get maybe a bottle of milk or a bottle of wine would find bones all around their cave. And so eventually they decided to shut down all the cemeteries one by one of the old Paris and put all the bones down here. Here, for instance, as they say, you have the bones of the old cemetery of the church of the Capucine Saint-Honoré, which were put down here on March 29th, 1804.
That means all the bones we see there, these people used to live in the area of this monastery,
Exactly.
were buried there, and at some point it was decided, okay, folks, we're gonna move you into the catacombs.
Because what we decided to do was to shut down all the old cemeteries and open 4 new cemeteries outside of Paris. Today, because the city has outgrown its suburbs, they're now into Paris. So back then they were outside. You can actually visit, if you want, with us, a very famous cemetery called the Père-Lachaise Cemetery. We do many tours over there. And so that's why in the Père-Lachaise Cemetery, though, you won't find anybody buried before the French Revolution, because for those, all of them, they're all down here.
Okay, so this is important because all these people were not killed at the same time. It's not a mass massacre of 5 million. It's just over the centuries and centuries. People were buried in small parishes cemetery.
You know what I'm about to say, Bertrand?
Let's talk about it on the Revolution tour.
No, I'm about to say yes and no. Most graves, most bones you have around here come from small cemeteries, but you also have a number of monuments dedicated to mass deaths that we can also see alongside the cemetery, mostly events that happened during the French Revolution, especially a famous riot that put an end to the monarchy in France. But if you want to know more about this, you'll have to follow our tour here.
There's water dripping all the way.
Yeah, we're in the dampiest part. So you might have actually...
In the what?
We're in the dampiest part of the catacombs, which is the ones where the water penetrates the most stone. You might actually feel a drop or two on your phone. Hopefully you won't, right here.
No,
So
I hope not, but I can feel them.
And so if you look over there on the right, you can see the effect on the bones. Look at the right of the pillar over there.
Let's go.
Watch out for the big wet spots on the ground. Don't ruin your shoes, not worth it.
The green here, it's water falling on the skulls.
No, it's the effect
on the bones
of the water falling on the bones, which means that's what happens. Eventually it gets green and then black over here. It's the bones rotting eventually, and you can see why. The water is right here falling continuously on this place right there.
Wow. We're getting closer to the end.
Yeah, in a sense. So this is, here you have the remnants of all the other tour guides before. No, I'm kidding. No.
All right, guys. We hope you've had a good time. We're going to walk a little bit more, Lucien and I, trying to find our favorite bones. And it's hard to distinguish one from another. So we will spend some more time here. We're happy to be back on our feet, to be back guiding. And hopefully we will see you soon in Paris. Au revoir.
Bye-bye.